and I'm on the legal limit to be able to drive with glasses on. So if I wear glasses, not drive it, then that's it.
Imagine standing under the blinding lights of a world championship match, thousands of fans screaming your name, and you can barely even see the dartboard. That's not a nightmare. It's Ryan Heavy Metal Searle's reality. For years, he's battled a rare hereditary eye condition that makes the simplest task on stage a gamble. Sometimes, he has to ask the referee what number he's even hit. And yet, this man hasn't just competed, he's risen into the spotlight as one of the most dangerous players in the world. Ryan Searle was born with a rare hereditary condition called dominant optic atrophy. In simple terms, it slowly eats away at the nerve that connects the eye to the brain. The result? Blurred vision, poor depth perception, and an everyday struggle most of us can't imagine, let alone in a sport where accuracy is everything. Back in school, he couldn't even read the chalkboard. While teachers thought he wasn't paying attention, he was quietly copying notes from friends just to keep up. For years, he stayed silent, hiding how bad his eyesight really was. But darts has a way of exposing truth. On stage, the bright lights only make his vision worse. At times, when he aims for a crucial checkout, he has to ask the referee what he's actually hit. Imagine the courage that takes, the mental toughness to keep throwing, knowing the crowd is watching, not sure if you even landed where you intended. The turning point came when Searle had kids of his own. His daughter was diagnosed with the same condition, only in a more severe form. That's when he realized this wasn't just his private battle anymore. He needed answers. He researched the condition, got connected with specialists, and started working with a Dutch foundation to raise awareness. Even today, you'll spot their patch on his sleeve during tournaments, a small reminder that darts isn't just about winning titles for him, it's about fighting for something bigger.
You said that maybe your biggest weakness are your eyes.
100%.
Yes.
100%. There's nothing, there's nothing else other than.
Have you been to the doctor, or have you tried wearing
Yeah,
glasses?
I've been to the optician, and they say your eyes are healthy, but I think it's just something that's passed down in my genes. My nan's got the same.
And yet, despite blurred vision, missed details, and daily challenges, he throws with a confidence that almost feels supernatural. His rivals know, if Ryan is in rhythm, you'll need something extraordinary to beat him. But before the spotlight and the pressure of televised matches, his story began somewhere much quieter, in a little town in Devon where he first picked up a dart. Long before the crowds, the flashing lights, and the pressure of the Oach, Ryan Searle's story began in Tiverton, a quiet town in Devon. It wasn't the kind of place overflowing with distractions. In fact, life in the countryside was slow, simple, and often uneventful. But for Searle, that lack of noise gave him space to focus on what he truly loved. As a kid, sports were his escape. Football, rugby, tennis. If it involved competition, he was in. For a while, rugby looked like it could be his future, until knee injuries forced him to give up the dream. That blow could have ended his ambitions right there, but it only pushed him to find something else. Outside the field, he discovered another passion, skateboarding. It gave him that same adrenaline rush, the same sense of flow and freedom. But skateboarding is unforgiving. One wrong fall could mean broken bones. Years later, Searle admitted he'd love to pick up a board again, but it's too dangerous now. A single wrist injury could end his darts career overnight. Growing up in Tiverton meant there wasn't much else competing for his attention. No big city lights, no constant distractions, just open space, a small community, and long stretches of quiet evenings. It was in that quiet that Searle found himself gravitating toward one thing more than anything else: darts. But it wasn't just the game itself that defined him in those years. Around the same time, he discovered something that would shape not just his image, but his entire identity: heavy metal.
Got Barry Hearn thinking, this guy's not marketable, you are marketable. Heavy metal, it just comes very naturally. Just tell us more about you, really.
If you've ever been in an arena when Ryan Searle walks out, you know immediately why he's called heavy metal. The air changes. The first riff of Paranoid by Black Sabbath rips through the speakers, and the crowd erupts, not because it's just another walk-on song, but because it feels like Searle himself. That identity didn't appear out of thin air. As a teenager in the countryside of Devon, while others leaned toward pop or mainstream rock, Searle found himself drawn to the raw power of heavy metal. Bands like System of a Down, Disturbed, and Black Sabbath weren't just music to him, they were energy, attitude, and identity. He's admitted he still listens to the same bands he discovered back then, a sign of how deeply they shaped him. What's striking is how genuine it all is. Many players choose walk-on songs to hype the crowd, but for Searle, Paranoid was more than that. It was his way of bringing a piece of his personal world onto the stage. There are plenty of other songs I like. he once explained, but if the crowd doesn't know them, it doesn't really work. That decision shows not just his taste, but his awareness of what creates a connection. He wanted fans to feel involved, and he knew that music, especially iconic music, was the perfect bridge. The nickname heavy metal stuck naturally, merging with the track and his larger-than-life image, and it turned out to be one of the best things to ever happen for his career. In a sport where players often blur together, Searle stood out instantly. He wasn't just Ryan Searle, another darts player from Devon. He was heavy metal Searle, the guy who walked out like a rock star and threw darts with a fearless rhythm.
Since I was, I don't know, 12, 13 probably, something I've always listened to. The like of skulls come from my dad more than anything else. He's always had a skull tattoo around his wrists, and that's why I've got skulls around my wrists as well. That more came from my dad. And obviously the nickname heavy metal comes with me having heavy darts as well, and I sort of look like I'm from a heavy metal band, so that sort of, it all molds into one, and I think the nickname suits me.
Crowds love authenticity, and that's why Searle's persona works. He's not pretending, not playing a part. What you see on stage is exactly who he is off it, a man who lives for the intensity, the noise, and the adrenaline that heavy metal brings. And while the music made him memorable, the real reason he became feared in darts was what happened when he picked up his first dart at home. Ryan's introduction to darts wasn't through a grand arena or a famous tournament. It was far simpler. His parents were fans of the game. They'd watch it on TV, and occasionally his father would hang up a dartboard around the house. Sometimes it stayed, sometimes it disappeared, but the seed had been planted. The real breakthrough came when Ryan's bedroom loft was converted into a small game space. That's where a dartboard finally stayed, but there was a catch. It wasn't hung at the proper distance. Most players would complain or say practice wasn't worth it. But Searle, he improvised. He stepped back as far as he could and just started throwing, and something strange happened. Even on this makeshift setup, his talent was undeniable. He was hitting 180. Of course, when he told people, nobody believed him. To them, he was just a kid exaggerating. But Searle knew. He felt it every time the dart left his hand. The rhythm, the accuracy, the connection. By 21, he decided to take the game seriously. He joined a Monday night pub team, and very quickly, he wasn't just one of the players, he was the player. His natural ability made him the strongest on the roster, and it didn't take long before he moved into county darts. That's where he really made his mark. In only his second youth match, he averaged 30.06, the equivalent of a 90 average at the time, which was almost unheard of for a newcomer. That performance was more than just numbers on a scoreboard, it was a statement. A message to the local scene that Ryan Searle wasn't just another pub player trying his luck. He had the raw ability to hang with serious competitors and beat them. Word started to spread. People who'd seen him play began whispering that this guy from Tiverton had something different. The way he threw, the way he scored, the casual confidence he carried at the Osh. It all felt like the start of something bigger. And yet, the most surprising thing wasn't how well he scored, it was how he played the game. Because while other players obsessed over technique, breathing, and mechanics, Searle's approach was almost shockingly simple. Watch Ryan Searle play for just a few minutes and you'll notice something unusual. His throw doesn't look rehearsed, over-engineered, or complicated. It's smooth, natural, almost effortless. And that's because Searle has never been the kind of player to obsess over mechanics. In fact, he'll tell you himself, he doesn't really think about it at all. He's admitted more than once that he's probably the worst person to ask for darts tips. Why? Because his philosophy is brutally simple, just throw the dart. He doesn't break down angles, breathing patterns, or how far his arm is pulled back. He refuses to let his mind interfere with the rhythm. The moment you start overthinking, he says, you're already creating problems. This approach might sound reckless, but it's the very thing that makes him dangerous. While others crumble under the pressure of fine margins and mental strain, Searle thrives by clearing his head. He lets instinct take over. Fans love it because it feels authentic. No routines, no dramatic pauses, just pure throwing. And the results back it up. Over the years, this stripped down, no-nonsense style has brought him 6 Pro Tour titles. Against seasoned professionals who have built their careers on structure and precision, Searle's freedom at the Osh is a weapon of its own. When he finds his rhythm, it looks unstoppable, as though the dart is destined to land where he wants it. For supporters, that's part of the magic of watching him. There's an unpredictability about his game, a sense that he's playing with instinct rather than calculation. It makes him relatable, the guy who just steps up and throws, the way every fan at home does on their own dartboard. But in Searle's case, that casual style has carried him onto the biggest stages in the sport. Still, raw ability and instinct can only take a player so far. If Searle wanted to truly test himself against the best, he would need to make the leap into professional darts, and that meant risking everything at one of the toughest proving grounds in the game, Q School. For years, Searle hesitated about taking the next step. The dream was clear, but the reality was brutal. Q School isn't just about skill, it's about pressure, money, and belief. He wasn't sure if he could compete at that level, and more importantly, he wasn't sure if he could even afford to. Traveling, competing, putting everything on the line, it was a massive gamble for a player still finding his place, but sometimes opportunity leaves you no choice. Through the Challenge Tour in 2016, Searle finished second only to Rob Cross, earning himself a coveted tour card. Suddenly, the question wasn't whether he could go pro, it was whether he dared to. Against his doubts, he took the plunge, and he's admitted since, he's never regretted it. The early years weren't smooth. His first season on the tour was promising, but his second was a nightmare. Time and again, he put in strong performances only to lose narrowly. Frustration grew, and whispers began. Maybe he wasn't cut out for the grind of professional darts. Then, everything shifted in 2018. That year, Searle won the Champion of Champions in Wales, a prestigious event that gave him the belief he desperately needed. Suddenly, the self-doubt cracked. He wasn't just holding his own anymore, he was winning. Shortly after, he reached his first Pro Tour final against Nathan Aspinall. It was a moment that showed he could go toe-to-toe with the rising stars of the game. That same year, he made his World Championship debut and shocked everyone by reaching the last 16. For a player who only years before doubted if he belonged, it was validation on the biggest stage. The heavy metal walk-on, the unorthodox throw, the man who played with limited vision, he had arrived. It was the moment Ryan Searle transformed from a pub prodigy into a professional threat, and from there, heavy metal wasn't just a nickname anymore, it was a statement. Sit under his belt, and his runs in the World Championship have cemented him as a threat no one can afford to overlook. But for Searle, the story has always been bigger than silverware. Every time he steps onto that stage, he carries more than his darts. On his sleeve is the patch of the Dutch Foundation raising awareness for dominant optic atrophy, a reminder of the fight he lives with daily and of the cause he champions for his daughter and countless others who share the condition. His openness has given visibility to a struggle many had never even heard of before, and in doing so, he's given his platform a purpose far beyond sport. And fans connect with him not only because of his story, but because of his personality. He's candid, down to earth, and refreshingly unpolished in a sport that often feels rehearsed. He doesn't hide behind excuses or polish his image to perfection. What you see is exactly who he is, a man who loves darts, loves heavy metal, and refuses to let obstacles define him. The walk-on to Paranoid is now iconic, the nickname Heavy Metal unforgettable, and the way he throws, quick, natural, almost casual, continues to set him apart. To his supporters, Searle represents something unique in darts, proof that success doesn't always come from following the textbook. Sometimes it comes from trusting yourself, even when the odds are stacked against you. And yet, despite everything he's achieved, there's a sense his story isn't finished. Searle is still pushing, still fighting, still climbing. His best days may still be ahead, and fans know that at any given tournament, he has the power to shock the world. Ryan Searle's career is more than a tale of darts. It's the story of a man who built his own path, blending heavy metal rebellion with quiet perseverance. From a makeshift dartboard in Tiverton to the grandest stages of the PDC, he's turned doubt into belief, setbacks into fuel, and limitations into motivation. He competes in a sport that demands perfect vision, while fighting through blurred sight. He walks onto stages built for champions, while carrying the weight of a hereditary condition most would see as disqualifying, and he wins. That's why his legacy already stretches beyond darts. It's not just about the trophies or the walk-on music, it's about proving that resilience, identity, and authenticity can take you further than anyone expects. So the next time you watch Ryan Searle take aim, remember, you're not just seeing a darts player, you're watching a man who defies the very limits of the game, and it leaves one powerful question hanging in the air. If Ryan Searle can step up under the lights, barely able to see the board, and still challenge the very best, what excuse do the rest of us really have?